Metafix is a show that teaches you how to think in the metagame. I am not here to give you the answers, nor am I going to tell you how to win. Metafix teaches you how to play in the metagame and how to react around the metagame and what is in the metagame. If you're looking for the answers, try HC Realms, check the forums, they have all kinds of neat toys and tools and teams being brought up, and check the results of a lot of the ROC tournaments or any Worlds tournaments to see how teams played out and what teams were used for. I'm just here to help you think. Nationals is around the corner for both North American countries, that's Canada and the US. And what better time to talk about the potential for power batteries going into the constructed portions of these. So, Tournament 1, being American Nationals, this is going to be April 11th, is, how do I put this? It's sealed and constructed. You're going to see resources. It's just going to be something you have to be ready for. And it's in your best interest to play them. And I believe I've talked to the last 2 episodes about how not yet competitive Pandora's Box and the Rock of Eternity are. I did that episode with some future thinking at the time. I'm probably going to have to redress those once the metagame kind of cools itself of the batteries, which will be next year. In the meantime, let's talk about how these batteries are affecting the game and how they're going to affect the metagame in each individual one. Well, we've kind of seen to a certain degree what some of them do. What we actually want to talk about today is more or less how you build around each battery. If you go on HC Realms, Scott Crampton has actually written a very well put together article with regards to ranking system of the batteries. If you check out the episode of The Quarry, I believe it was a relatively recent episode. I don't know the episode number, but if you check out The Quarry, he does an interview with Edward Sheldon over there, and he explains it in more detail where he came to a lot of these decisions about the batteries. So if you're looking for a ranking system, those are your 2 sources to check. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to explain each battery and how they can functionally make some teams just absolutely frightening when you build around them. I do want to get this out of the way. I still haven't figured out the best way to do this one for a couple of reasons. One, the blue battery helps you, how do I put this, re-roll a single die roll. And when I say single die roll, I'm talking about super sensitive shape change or impervious. Pretty cool rolls to be making and pretty cool rolls to try to re-roll. But you only get 1 shot at it from the emotional spectrum on this. Otherwise, this is a perplex machine. It hands out blue constructs to people with the blue ring, and it hands out perplex all day, every day. Perplex is cool. A lot of perplex is even cooler. But there's not enough coming from this thing to make it kind of fit into the game. If I was to say anything, you'd probably be better off with a shape change based team. Something with maybe a lot of scrolls and a lot of characters where you rely on shape change to stop your opponent. The reason I say that is some of the rerolls are avoidable. With the shape change is avoidable too, but it's got the least likely to be avoided. Shape change will be avoided by Battle Fury. And that doesn't come up as often as, say, Precision Strike comes up in the metagame, or Psychic Blast. So I've run into long detail as to how hard it is to build for this thing. A team that relies on shape change and is kind of balanced and could really use some perplex and is a little bit slower on the expectation is probably a good team to play with the blue battery. It's very tough to build a team for this, and I probably should have also done a contest for this instead of the Pandora's Box, but Pandora's Box is a little harder. So blue battery is a little difficult. It's cool, and it's got a lot of neat effect, but it's avoidable in a lot of cases. The roll could just not ever occur in some rare cases, and you might not be in the greatest place. Next up, let's talk about... I want to talk about 2 that have very similar builds. Let's start with the Black Lantern. Black Lantern gives steel energy, and I believe the emotional spectrum is when something is KO'd, you heal. My fact checker is going to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down from HC Realms in a second. But the idea of, imagine a team that doesn't really soak the damage well, but can hit back and get the damage back. That's a pretty cool outlook if you think about it, and it can really, really help a team of shorter dials kind of stay alive. As well, if you can get some KOs out, you can just mass heal a team. So where I'm going with this is a team with a lot of figures, a swarm team, if you will, could really benefit from the steel energy and the KOing healing effects out of this. So a thought on that. Actually, I do believe that the emotional spectrum is extra steel energy, and the 2 effects from the ring may be the KO effect and steel energy. Wait, was that thumbs up on my first account?
Emotional spectrum death. When a friendly core member uses steel energy as a result of damaging a higher point character with an attack, increase the healing by 1.
So, again, swarm teams are going to take damage, and getting it back at a faster rate is an exciting opportunity if you think about it. So there's a thought for the Black Lantern. Also equally a thought for a swarm team, the Red Lantern battery. Now the reason I say the Red Lantern battery works for a swarm team is imagine that much penetrating poison coming at you. That's a lot of penetrating poison. The emotional spectrum on this is the one that's polarizing about people. A lot of people look at it and say giant reach and only think about the 2 square close combat attacks. What a lot of people miss about the giant reach is that giant reach gives carry. Now, if you put enough sidesteppers on a team, so long as you're not up against a green battery in this situation, but if you put enough sidesteppers on your team, they could be carting each other up. So imagine a character sidesteps using the Red Lantern Giant Reach, carries a figure. Now, the other character has Giant Reach from the Red Lantern. Giant Reach doesn't stop you from being carried. Unlike Flight or other combat symbols, it doesn't negate the ability to be carried. So then you take that other character who you just sidestepped with, and assuming they have sidestep, you sidestep forward again. I've just given up a 4 square sidestep before even an action is taken, and that could be two characters in the right position to poison with. Pretty cool idea if you ask me. And so those are the swarm methodologies that you can attempt to follow. As far as the next set of guys, let's talk about some thick dials. When I say thick dials, it's not necessarily the dial is long, but they're dials that just don't move. As well, you can think about the idea that being punished or just not being able to get through those dials is really, really tiring already. And even if you haven't taken a point, when your opponent sees that your characters are deep dialed or hard to kill or going to take forever to kill, they're already on tilt. So keeping them on tilt and keeping them having to act is beneficial for these 2 batteries. The first one I'm going to talk about is the White Lantern battery. The White Lantern battery, of course, has got that ability from the ring where characters can stop on their last click and try to heal. Now, they don't actually stop on the last click. They do get to their KO click, and then you go back to the last click. And then they can use regeneration. There are some characters that are actually pretty crazy to have that ability with. One that comes up often is Absorbing Man. The reason I get a little hesitant about Absorbing Man specifically is very specific to the fact that it's not just when he takes damage, I believe, that you roll for his ability. You have to roll for it when you heal. So when you get that regeneration, you heal for 3 clicks. You have to roll a 3 to get that healing. I'm going to have my fact checker check that again just to be sure. And she's going to give me a thumbs up on that. But also the emotional spectrum, and this, I'm thinking about characters that can be healed, such as Headpool, such as, you're looking for the ring. Or Absorbing Man, sorry, Absorbing Man. You're looking at the ring. Edit a little bit of this up. Mm-hmm. The emotional spectrum, when you're talking about characters who take 1 damage at a time, let's talk Headpool, let's talk Dupe, let's talk Gluttony. Those guys just basically take 1 damage at a time. And they come with some extra effects. I mean, Headpool does have the word bubbles, which you can use to give him mystics. Gluttony comes with mystics. Dupe's just annoying. Dupe, he's awesome. The emotional spectrum on this allows you to take a core member, give that core member a power action, and heal every character within 6 squares. Now you got to be careful about placement because you could be healing your opponent's characters, but you can mitigate some loss on that too. You can kind of look at that and go, maybe 1 damage back on a certain character. Some character won't be such a bad thing. So there's that. And I've done messed up. There we go. And it is damage or healed. So yes, Absorbing Man does run the red gamut of possibly not healing. The Star Sapphire, also the same thing, but it actually kind of works a little better in the sense that it gives Shape Change. Shape Change is a very prominent power right now because it's the harder one to dodge out of Shape Change, Super Senses, or Impervious. Impervious is dodgeable by Psychic Blast and somewhat by Precision Strike. Precision Strike gets through Super Senses as well. The only power that hard counters Shape Change, let's just say coming from the battery, would be Battle Fury. Not that prominent a power, and it does put your opponent in a position of being close to you anyway, and then you get the added bonus of the Mystics from that. So when you got talking about a power that doesn't show up as much, being, you know, kind of the only counter to this, it gets a little better. It's a nice idea for a thick dial team. It's a little trickier to run, but the emotional spectrum of bonus range can really go a long way, especially once you jump a pink sniper rifle on somebody, and you can get range to enough characters that gives you a 13 range. Pretty cool. That's just an idea I'm throwing out. The Orange Lantern is another one of those ones that you can build, there's 2 teams that you can build a lot of options for, but you kind of got to be careful about how you're building with this one. The Orange Lantern, a lot of people refer to as situational. It's only situational if you didn't plan ahead properly. You got to look at it, and with the Orange Lantern battery, you got to look at it and bring the power that's going to be the problem, right? So if you've got a team that you look at your opponent and they have something that's going to get around you with Invincible, say, or Impervious is going to be a problem, make sure you have that power too. And that way it gives you the option to counter some powers. As well, never forget that you can stop improved movement and willpower in some really weird ways with this. Because the only requirement for the Orange Lantern to cancel something is the initial ability of can use. Now, some things that do give you some wacky things are Flight. Flight gives you improved movement. This is ruled that if you ignore an improved movement, you ignore all improved movements with the Orange Battery. Same thing with improved targeting. If you should have, I don't know, Sharpshooter, or you happen to have a character who has improved targeting, you ignore all improved targeting with this. If you've got Indomitable, if you've got Quintessence, if you've got Willpower, well, you're stopping the Willpower in all 3 of those effects. As well, this allows you to stop team abilities. If you're packing Mystics on your team, why take Mystics damage? Right? So, this comes with a lot of options, but you kind of have to plan to a degree with this team. It's helpful in cases to bring a team with a wide array of powers. One good choice I've come up with. Amber is mocking me for this. One choice I have come up with, it's a good match for this, has been Bizarro. Oftentimes you're rolling that dial around, but there's always a power Bizarro will have that will stop your opponent. And then we're going back into that whole you stop improved movement. You stop all improved movements. That's even the improved movement granted by Flight, Leap and Climb, Hypersonic. You get no improved movement bonuses from any of those powers. So, Orange Battery's got a lot of potency to it. And there's a lot going on with it that a lot of people tend to miss. So always pay attention when you're playing an Orange Lantern Battery as your goal, that you have the ability to stop a lot of things just by having some combat abilities. Also, never forget that the powers that come from the ring on this include Plasticity and Barrier. Nothing is worse than watching a hypersonic guy run through your team. Well, stop for a minute, Mr. Man. Because I've stopped your improved movement and I have Plasticity. The other battery, and this is, by law of probability, going to be the one you will definitely see. And it is the green battery. Now, why I say the law of probability, they gave these things away. What that means is a lot of people have them. So you run a lot higher chance of running into these things in the more competitive tournaments. So expect to see this And a well-balanced team is great to have with this. It turns a lot of characters that are you worry about certain things into characters you don't worry about certain things. The green ring on this gives willpower. Think about how many characters you look at and go, that character would be better if they had willpower. Now they have it. What's even better is it gives you defenses against opponents' outwits and perplexes, because you get a chance to roll on a 4, 5, or 6 if your opponent attempts to use some of those on you. Now there are some things that grant perplex against opposing characters, which we're going to get into in a second. So never forget that the green battery works really well on a well-balanced... this works on any team. These both work on any team, but this will work so long as you're packing the power that stops your team. Now we talk about this one's a little bit more one-dimensional than anything. This is the one that plays with the tent pole. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And what makes this thing really insane is there's a couple of factors in it. For one, we already have the ability and I'm kind of quoting Scott Campton's discussion from the quarry. You already have the ability to affect defense upwards. So now this thing helps you with the effect of knocking your opponent's attacks downward in 2 ways. One, the emotional spectrum on this gives you the ability, or whenever a character of a higher point is attacked, if your character is higher point, then your opposing character who's attacking that higher point character, they get -2 to their attack. As well, the ring that comes with this one gives perplex, but only towards decreasing. Well, that's not a problem if you decrease the attack on your opponent's attack. So now you've decreased your opponent's attack by 3. They've got -3 to their attack. Add that to whatever bonuses you can possibly get to defense. Let's say a Despotellis with a Nodara, and throw on some kind of energy shield there. So you're looking at a swing of 6 in your favor towards your defense, because it's -3 on your opponent's side and +3 on your side. That's a massive swing that you can really, really make your tent pole very difficult to hit with. Now, some of the things you run into with this is the universal argument, and I hate making it, pulse wave. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a discussion with a number of players, and it's been like, hey, you know what beats this? Pulse wave. If you say pulse wave, I'm going to get upset. Of course, pulse wave stops everything, but pulse wave does kind of go with this as well. But one of the high-tech abilities, or high-level tech, that's been implemented with this character is a lot of people are using the Silver Centurion. Why are people using Silver Centurion with this? Do you know what he's immune to? Pulse wave. So now you've got a character who says gives a big middle finger to that Silver Centurion, or to that pulse waver, and that's pretty fantastic. So, in a nutshell, it's kind of a breakdown of the kinds of teams that are good to play with each of these batteries. I hope I've kind of helped you along with your building process. Again, you're never going to see me give you the answers, although I might have given one away with the Oriag Yellow Letter battery. I give it an option. A thought, if you will. So, until next time, guys, good luck building. And as we go forward to Nationals, don't forget, practice makes your team better. The opinions and thoughts brought to you in Metafix are not meant for the casual game at the table. Married with Clix is brought to you by Majestic's Heroclix sales down in Costa Mesa, California. Right now, they're in the middle of storefront change. In the meantime, don't forget to check out their eBay store. If you check the link down below, they always have great Heroclix stuff at fantastic prices, and they'll ship just about anywhere.